Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. So this past month, I went on my first date in a while, and the entire experience has been bittersweet. I'm going to be talking about something a little bit bitter in this video. I noticed that when I went to my favorite restaurant with the date, I got treated with much more respect than I did just weeks earlier when I went alone. And I uh, I had to as I was eating with her, I was already upset about that. I really had to contain my anger about the situation. Next semester, I'll be teaching again for Central Arizona College. I'm a little bit upset about the contract I got. Here's the thing: I don't necessarily dislike the class that I was assigned to. What I dislike, the campus I was assigned to has really terrible facilities. I work out of an adjunct office I have to share with other people, which is not the end of the world. But the office doesn't even for some reason, I don't know what material they make their office walls out of. The cell phone signal doesn't work in there. And sometimes I'm waiting for a phone call. I got to keep my cell phone outside of that office or it won't ring. And I don't know if anybody has ever worked in an environment like that. It gets frustrating after a while to have to do that. And then there's nowhere to there's no kitchenette to wash it. There was, but they're doing renovations. There's no kitchenette to wash stuff. One day I got so frustrated about that. I don't know why. Something about having to use the bathroom to wash your dishes really riles me up. I had another workplace like that a few years ago. One day I had gone to the bathroom and the sink kept wanting to turn off on me. It's an automatic faucet. It kept wanting to turn off on me. Finally, I got so upset. I took my half-washed dishes, I placed them in a cardboard box, and I wrote on the box, "Please fix the kitchenette." And I left them outside of the office of the president of the school there. I don't know, but to his credit, he wrote back on the card. He left a note on the cardboard box apologizing and saying they're working on it, and so it was very diplomatic. But I felt embarrassed after he had wrote back. I thought he was going to get upset about that and try to find out who left it there. And so I took the Tupperware back home to wash it, and it's and then I got another when I got the contract for the class next semester, and it's at the same campus building. I you know at every job that I've been at, both at the schools and at the tutoring centers, I've never had a hatred for any of my students. Never. Even at the tutoring center, I used to have a sixth grader who misbehaved. Even then, the sixth grader misbehaving, actually, I never hated him. What I do sometimes hate is that my boss and I might disagree with how to deal with a misbehaving student like that, right? But that's the boss's attitude that I have a problem with, right? Similarly, right now at the community college, I don't I don't necessarily dislike any of the colleagues or bosses there either. I dislike the facilities right now. This is the first job I've ever had where it's facilities that I Peter dislike. Or usually it's the manager, toxic managers, toxic colleagues. I haven't fingers crossed. I don't run into that at the colleges, but right now the facilities and the commute. If I have to name the two things that I hate about the job, facilities one, commute second, I would say. I don't know. Leave a comment if you've ever hated a job over the facilities, whether they be nowhere to eat, can't get a cell phone signal, um, poor climate control in the office. Leave a comment if that's ever happened. But I think part of the reason most of my colleagues hate the facilities there, but I think the reason I got it is in large part because once again I'm single, and other people who have families, they want to be comfortable so they can go home and make love to their significant other, right, or take care of their kids, right, and there's a lot of uh, like I said, ever since I started dating again, I find that I get a lot of respect when I have a partner around me. Um, the other day, my date came to the office to pick me up, and again, a lot of respect. I mean, I love the respect I'm getting now, but it makes me angry about how I was treated in the past, and it makes me feel for the ones that don't have somebody at the moment, right? Now, earlier today, I had a situation that, well, first of all, I did some reading a couple after I had gone on the date. I did some reading and I discovered that here in the United States, we talk about gender wage inequality, right? I think women only make what 80 cents out of every dollar a man makes, right? We talk about racial income inequality, right? I think people of color only make 70% of what white Americans make. But it's even worse for single inequality. Singles only make 40% of what a similarly situated married person makes. And that got me really upset because when I calculated, I took what I made, and if that were 40%, I calculated what 100% would be. And when I saw the number, I was very upset. It's a big difference. And I started to daydream if I had that amount of money, what I could do with it. Right? I invite you to do that calculation. Take out a calculator, take whatever you make and divide that by 40% and see how much that is. And if you're single, that is, right? And or conversely, if you're married, take what you make and calculate 40% of that and try to imagine living on that, right? I'll invite you to do the calculation in either direction. And when I was thinking about that, it really upset me because there are so many things that I often don't have the money to do, obviously, right? I mean, you guys saw last week I offered a reward for somebody who would set me up on a blind date, and it has kind of changed my life. I wish I could be doing that more, right? And there are other things I'd like to be doing as well. I recently was trying to quote, I make art out of Legos. And I was quoting some Lego pieces to put together a portrait of Mary Curry. It's about 6 feet tall, about 4 feet wide. You got these base plates, and I was quoting the base plates and also the tile pieces to put on the base plates to do a portrait of Mary Curry. And when I quoted the whole thing, it was about $1,000 to $1,500, and I'll get it eventually, but it's a stretch, right? It's not like I can just easily click pay it now without having to think about it, right? If I had what I should be making if I were married, I probably wouldn't hesitate. I would have just clicked it like I was buying a sandwich, right, or buying dinner, right? Right. The difference was significant. You can do the calculation. So here in America, singles only make 40% of what a similarly situated married person makes. And so you can do the calculation of how much you should. If I made as much as somebody who was married in my shoes was making, I'd be making well north of six figures, right? And so I probably wouldn't have thought twice about buying the Lego pieces. Right now, I'll probably order it later this month, but it's something that you have to think about, right? And do comparison shopping, right? And so that really upset me when I was thinking about that statistic. I'd obviously like to be offering big rewards every time somebody sets me up on a date as well. But actually, the reward, I may not need it as much. My first time doing it, I offered, as you guys saw, a 1 kilogram silver bar as well as a bunch of other stuff. But this time around, I only offered one of those bismuth geodes, and I got somebody to take that. Actually, I think I got a lot more interest this time around compared to last, because let's face it, most Americans don't even know what silver is. But anybody with eyes can understand what bismuth are, even if they don't know what bismuth is, right? And so maybe I don't have to offer that great of a reward going forward, right? Which is great because I could give lots and lots of those Bismuth geodes, as long as Bismuth doesn't go to the moon before I complete my reward program, right? It won't be too much of a stretch. But you get the idea, right? And then there's other things, right? It's not like I get to eat whatever I want. I have to think about budget there too, right? I, I'd like to be eating out more too because when I eat out, I get to talk to people and network with people, right? I'd love to be eating 10 pounds of celery every day as well, right? 10 pounds of celery that I haven't had budget issues there, but other foods, yeah. And so when I thought about how much I could be making if we didn't have singles discrimination, it really upset me. Now, today I went to interview for a tutoring gig that I found on Facebook. I talked to the kid's mother, and she was not giving a very good deal. She had interviewed me about my background, where I now work, who I've tutored before, references, and all that. And she was only offering me $15 an hour. Granted, it was going to be over Zoom, but you know what? People think of Zoom as, oh, you're sitting at home. You don't even have to put on clothes. Not really. I mean, it's still going to happen on a certain schedule, right? And long story short, she wasn't being very nice about it. And finally, because I mentally I had already given up on the opportunity, so I decided to speak my mind. I told the mom, well, she was offering me $15 an hour, saying that was the best she could do. Meanwhile, I'm in her kitchen in one of the best houses in her neighborhood, and she's telling me that's the best she could do. So I asked her, well, what if I pretend I were married and had 2 kids? What would you pay me then? And she says, but you're not. And when she said that, I lost it. I said, so you distinguish between that, and I almost wanted to say the F word, but the kid was around. And, I'm not usually angry about my students, but I did say, so it matters whether or not I'm married and have kids. And she was surprised that I said that, and I left her home. And so apparently, in a lot of people's minds, it actually does matter. And that was very upsetting. That was very, very upsetting. Um, I don't know. I doubt she was going off that, Peter. Well, she did say, but you're not, right? If she had said that, no, this is all I can offer. It has nothing to do with you. Maybe that would have been a different story, right? But when she said, but you're not, it's kind of like saying, what if I had a PhD? Would you offer me more? But you don't. That would make sense, right? Right? But okay. What if I were white? How much would you offer me? But you're not. What if I were black? What if I were gay? What would you offer me? Right? But you're not. Wouldn't that sound weird? This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.